you use all that GSI stuff, the computer-generated GIS stuff, computer-generated CGI stuff. That's it. Computer-generated stuff.
Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe. Entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the August 2018 and the 100th edition of the Industry Angel.
Woo!
And thanks to Jen and Gren from the Invest South Tyneside team, we are under the banner of Tech Talks tonight. Now, Tech Talks, you might think Customs House, Ray Spencer, Tech Talks, but there is technology, and we'll be talking about that later. Sintons, where are you guys? Where's Team Sinton? Yes, thank you very much. Sintons.co.uk? Yeah? Yep, there you go, shout out. And thanks for you guys as well for giving up your night. Obviously, we're live streaming, but we really need to support things in the Northeast and attend these events. So that's my little dig at you guys to get off your bums and attend a bit more. We've got some great stuff happening in the Northeast, so thanks for your support. And if you want to use the hashtag, we've got Industry Angel Live. That's going now. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well, Jen. Okay. Feel free to share it, take photographs, tag yourselves, check in at the Customs House. Just out of interest, who has not been to the Customs House before?
I have 4 children. Hang your heads in shame.
Exactly. Okay, who makes the Christmas pantomime part of their family tradition? Come on, Ray, we've got some work to do.
We have.
We've got a raffle.
We have.
Family ticket?
A family ticket.
Christmas pantomime?
I don't think I'll bother now, but yes. We have a family ticket to Beauty and the Beast, which is our pantomime this year. And for those who don't know it, and why should you? This is for 3 years running. We have been voted the Northeast's most entertaining pantomime by Northeast Theatre Guide. And this year, in the Great British Panto Awards, we beat the London Palladium for the best designed panto. So there you go.
Nicely done. Exactly, on the map. So what we'll do tonight then, Ray and I will chat for about 45 minutes. I'm going to take my watch off because Jen will tell me off and prompt me. We'll do a quick fire lightning round. We'll have some fun. We're going to do a quiz tonight for a minute on pantomimes. Because apparently Ray knows lots about them. We shall see. And we're going to do the raffle. And then we'll take some Q&A from the floor. So whilst they're talking, if you've got any burning questions, keep them in mind. And then you guys can ask Ray at the end of the night. Okay?
I'm ready.
Let's get the show on the road then.
My tenters have not been hooked.
You've been a bit apprehensive about this, haven't you?
I'm very apprehensive.
Don't worry about it. Right, so I better do the podcast bit.
Okay, right. Oh, have we not started yet?
Well,
it's going to be longer than the Titanic, this.
This is the 100th as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Right, okay. What have I not done? Right, okay. So today I am joined by the Director of the Customs South from South Shields. Welcome to the Industry Angel, Ray Spencer.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's like 3 rounds of applause before we even started.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, Ray, thanks for joining us this evening.
Pleasure.
And for hosting us here at the wonderful Customs House. Should we tell... I want to know a bit about you first, Ray, before we talk about Customs House.
Not all of it's true.
So, we probably... Who's Sandancers here? Yeah, so we'll know Ray affectionately as Tommy the Trumpeter as well. Yeah. So, I mean, my great-grandfather liked to be entertained by Ray.
I'll tell you a true story. I was, for those who don't know, like people who don't come down to South Shields, for 25 years I was Tommy the Trumpeter, and my daughter, one of my daughters, is 16 now, and she's got a boyfriend for the first time. And yeah, I don't know why I'm out the house when they're in the house. Anyway, but for the first time. And he came to our house and he said, do you mind if I say something, Mr. Spencer? And I thought, respect. He said, do you mind if I say something, Mr. Spencer? And I said, not at all. He said, when my dad was little, he loved you as Tommy the Trumpeter.
You've still got the outfit, haven't you?
Actually, I haven't. They've gone into archive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because one, I couldn't get it back into it, but two, somebody asked if they could be archived. One day when I die, they might put them on display or something. I don't know.
That just reminded me, last time I met you, we were at some business awards at Temple Park, and I said, let's do this. And you said, yeah, it sounds good. And I said, can we do it in frocks? Like Dame. Mm-hmm. And you knocked us back, yeah?
Yeah, because it's a difficult thing, because when you meet business people like we are now, they perceive you in the way they see you. So if the time they met you was in a frock, then at a later date, when you say, can I have a word with you about the thing, who is that person? I know who that person is. They spend 7 weeks of the year dressed as a woman, which I do, because I'm now Dame in the pantomime here. So, yeah. So I thought, no, I'll be respectful to these people.
I very nearly wore a dress, just out of pure respect for you.
What you do in your spare time's up to you, Ian.
Yeah. So let's take it back then. Before Tommy the Trumpeter, okay, we mentioned that you did 25 years, Ray?
As Tommy, yeah.
MBE?
Yeah. I don't know how that happened either, but yes, right. I've got an MBE, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For arts to the region, for the North East. I think there's a round of applause in there, surely, isn't there? Yeah. So let's wind it back, Ray. Where did your love of the arts come from? When did it start?
The first time I ever went into a television studio, my first experience of technology in a television studio, I was 3. And I went on a charabanc, a bus journey, from our street to Trinity Studios to see a television programme which was called The 1 O'Clock Show. And it went out live, guess the time, 1 o'clock. But before daytime telly, we used to have this 1 o'clock show. And I went along to it. And when we got there, they said I couldn't get in because I was not an adult. But it was the only way my mum could go, as if she took me. Anyway, they let me in the end. And there's a shot of me sitting on the stairs. The world was a different place then. You've got to remember this was 1960. So the celebrity chef that they had was making something a bit exotic. He was making a Spanish omelette. and the Spanish omelette was passed along the audience. No health and safety then. So the audience tasted it and passed it on. But apparently it arrived at me, and I was sitting on the steps between 2 lines of seat, and I was on camera eating this omelette on Tiny's 1 o'clock show. So I think that's what gave me a taste both for Spanish omelette and show business.
Okay, and that was 3-year-old?
I was 3 years old, and the first thing I did probably was nativity in infants. And then what made me think I could do it professionally, I was actually training to be an accountant. And yeah, I know, and it's unbelievable. It's been very useful though. And I was 22, and I did a show with Alan Price, the musician, called HMS Kelly, which was about a ship built on the Tyne. And it was on BBC One, BBC Two. But the people who were working on it said, "What's your next job?" And I said, "I'm going back to the hospital where I'm trained to be an accountant." And I said, "Oh, you should be doing this." Now, my dad worked as a corker burner in the yard behind me here for 42 years. And my dad was disappointed that at 15, I said I didn't want an apprenticeship. Thank you very much. He was really shocked because he said to me it was a job for life. I would have been unemployed for many decades by now. And so he was all right when I went off to be an accountant. But when I said at 22, do you know what, Dad? I'm going to give up being an accountant and I'm going to train to be an actor. Now, for a man who had lived by his own sweat and guile for all those years, it was a bit of a shock to have a son who wanted to be an actor, but it's what I wanted to do, so I went off to do that. And through various routes, I ended up here.
You can't be skipping the various routes.
I remember I can't tell you that story. Anyway, so I did my degree, and then I had a chance to move out of the region, and I didn't. And then I was a jobbing actor for a little bit. And then I used my acting skills to sell videotapes. Another bit of technology in my life. And the best people who bought videotapes were miners, because they worked funny shifts and they had the money to buy the video machines. And I used to drive down to London and sort of buy a shed load of Superman 3s, put them in the back of the boot, drive back. So I'd be like getting there at 9 o'clock. So I was setting off at 4:30 in the morning, get down there, as soon as it was released, drive back up here. And I'd be all over the northeast selling Superman 3. Now this was in 1983-4 time. 1983-4. A videotape was £54 ex-VAT. And you were flogging it, and then they were renting it out all over the place. And we had a margin of about 15% on those tapes. So the miners' strike came, and guess what? The last thing on a miner's mind was buying a videotape or hiring a videotape. They didn't have any money. So it really impacted on our business. So then I walked into the college one day and I said, I'd like to train as a teacher. And they said, all right. And they said, just fill in your card. So I filled it in. They said, oh, is that your qualification in drama? And I said, yes, it is. They said, would you mind just coming in for 7 hours a week? Because we haven't got a drama teacher and we've got these classes. This is true. So I went in for 7 hours a week. And then they said, there's nobody to take the effing Wex. This was fabrication and welding students. To do general studies on a Monday from 4:30 to 5:30. Honestly, they gave it to a part-timer because nobody wanted to take on these kids. And they used to say to me, get there 10 minutes before because they'll go out the window if you're not in quick enough. And so I started doing part-time stuff, general study stuff, do a whole host of different courses. And then I eventually got a full-time job as a performing arts lecturer. And I had a great I had a great principal, John Wells, who believed that people who taught should put their hands on the tools. They should still remember how to do it. So he used to let me go off and perform elsewhere. So I went all over the place performing. And one of the things I did was work with John Miles. Music was my first love. That John Miles. And Tom Kelly. And we adapted a play called Machine Gunners, written by Robert Westall from North Shields. And we took it to Edinburgh. And it was a good success. But while we were there, Catherine Cookson died. And I said, you know what? We should do a musical about Tom and Catherine Cookson. Not about our books, but what it was like to be married together together for 63 years. So we said, yeah, we'll do that. So we developed this musical. And I came here and said, we're going to do this musical, can we do it there? And they said, oh, yes. So we launched it on Tyne Tees Telly in the February with Mike Neville, and it sold all the seats in February. We cast everybody and started rehearsing in August, this time of year, actually. And the guy who was then here said, can I have a word? And I said, yeah. He said, you'll want to pay everybody at the end of next week, won't you? And I said, yes. He said, well, I haven't got any money. So what do you mean? We sold all the seats. He said, I know. We've been spending that money since February to keep the place open. And they had, because the Customs House was in a terrible state, a parlous state. Anyway, the local authority stepped in to save it. And then I was asked for lunch by the Arts Council. I've never been asked for lunch by the Arts Council. And what I realised, it was an interview. It wasn't really lunch, it was an interview. And then they got me to apply and they said, will you take the job over? So I was the 5th director in 5 years when I came to the Customs House. And I remember going in to tell my very gorgeous partner, I said, you know how I've got this job at the college and it got great pension, great holidays, and only need to be on site for 30 hours a week. I said, what I'm going to do is take on the customs house on a 6-month temporary contract for no more money and only 20 days holiday a year. And she said, if it's what you want to do, you do it. Now she describes the customs house as the mistress I've never had, because it became just part of my life.
And that was in 2000?
Yeah, January the 10th, 2000, I started here. And my job was to keep it open, to rescue it. I had to write a recovery plan. And now, 18 years on, I'm still writing that recovery plan because it's not moved on at all. It just gets harder and harder.
So you've had a really good ground in there in terms of like you've been an actor, you've taught, you've lectured, you've even flogged DVDs here at Christmas Pantos. So you've obviously brought that along with you. Yeah. The challenges that you've faced in the last 18 years, though, it must be very different. We're under the tech banner here. So what technology have you implemented in the customs house? Maybe you've had to. Has there been a point where you've thought, do we not? Because it must be an investment.
Of course.
Do you invest in something that potentially might not have a return? This must be a quandary for you.
Do you know, it's an interesting thing, because with technology, you usually improve your productivity, don't you? That's why you buy it. So it makes you better at what you do, or quicker at what you do, or do more of what you do. It's really difficult in the arts because the person painting the picture is still the person painting the picture. The person writing the script is still the person writing the script. The actors performing on stage are yet to be replaced. However, there are now moves to put holograms on stage to populate the stage. There was a production called Sunday in the Park with George, where the painting came to life with holograms and real actors, and it looks like there's more people on stage than there actually is. So theatre has always had to respond to technology. From the Greeks built their amphitheatre so you could hear. They used to have 5,000 people being able to hear what they were saying. Romans used to flood the amphitheatre because they used hydraulics to bring galleons on and stuff. So technology has always been part of theatre. Victorians loved technology, and we've had to embrace technology. I mean, if even in modern times, if technology didn't exist, like these microphones, you would never have heard Sinatra. Sinatra would never have performed in a theatre without amplification. Just wouldn't have happened because his voice wasn't strong enough. So we embrace it now. So, we all wear these headsets when we're doing drama now. We use much more video than we used to, rather than have a painted backdrop all the time. We'll use video, we'll use graphics, we'll use all of those sort of things that you'd expect us. But audiences, you, can watch anything you want, any time of the day. You use all that GSI stuff, the computer-generated GIS stuff, computer-generated CGI stuff. That's it. Computer-generated stuff.
I'll edit that bit out. Don't worry about it.
So you expect your expectations quite high. So we've got to compete with that. So Thursday, we open When the Boat Comes In. When the Boat Comes In was based on a novel that was written about this very area that we're in. But it starts after the First World War. And so we've spent a lot of money and a lot of time doing surround sound soundscape, so you can hear what the actors are talking about. Not hear the actors, but what it sort of sets the mood for you. So in Psycho, in the film Psycho, when they go, you get all excited that she's going to be stabbed. Well, now soundscape round theatre is really important for pointing the audience to the emotion that the director wants them to have. So that's a massive part of it. All of our lights now are intelligent lighting. Yeah, so many times before you'd say, "Oh, that red one, can you make it blue?" Yeah, I'll just get the ladders out and I'll just go up there and I'll change it and I'll go back up and put the red one in. And the time now, you say, "Can you make that red one blue?" And they go, "Yeah," and it's done instantly. And a lot of the people who visit theatres, touring companies, will now arrive with what is in effect a stick and plug it into the industry standard lighting board, and the lights go, right, we're ready. It's changed dramatically, that sort of turnover time. But what you can't, our biggest cost, as in most businesses, is the bloody actors. And the sooner we get robotics, the better for me.
Just out of personal interest for me, being an audiophile, everything's got to be sounding correct. Digitally now, you've got digital sound, you've got digital lights. Was it better? Was the lighting better with the old lights and the old bulbs, though?
There's a massive debate. He's been researching. There's a massive debate in the industry because LED is such a sharp light. It's such a strong light. They've actually asked for an exemption to still have the old style lights, the old style lighting, because it's a warmer, gentler light for theatre. And indeed, the lighting designer that we've got has brought in some old lights. I love the new lights because they're much more energy efficient and reduce our costs massive. Because, we work in big black rooms, don't we? Theatres, big black rooms that cost a load to heat and light. They're hopeless. So the thought of having cheaper lights was brilliant. But it's not worked for the lighting designer. He doesn't like it. He has to put the old ones on. And I said, well, why? If you want to go wild, get a limelight. Which when they used to burn lime, and that's where the expression comes from, standing, being in the limelight. Or use candles if you want to be really traditional. But no, he wants a mix. So yes, it is a challenge to us, yeah.
It's interesting because when you are on the stage there, everything's dark and you won't be able to see the audience, I imagine. Whereas now you can see everybody here.
Do you know what you can see mostly in the audience now? Can anybody guess? It's like looking out at a Canaletto painting. Everybody is underlit. So you because they're all referring back to the phones. Now, there was a time when the industry I'm in tried to ban all of that, but now we embrace it and say, point your camera, tell the story, get it told. Last year when I did pantomime, there was somebody in the front row, not only was doing the Facebook, doing the Twitter, saying, oh, right, this is what I had for me tea. Really important stuff. They were on the phone. They actually were having a conversation in the middle of the front row. And I'm fairly tolerant of most things, but I wasn't on this occasion. So I went down in the front row and asked who was on the phone. Well, I told the audience all to be quiet because we're going to have this conversation with this girl. And it was a nana. It was a nana that she was on the phone to. And I had a chat with a nana. And then we got on with the show. But technology is with us all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
We used to try and control it. And for theatres, often, we have to control it for safeguarding purposes. We have a lot of young kids perform on our stage, and we're not allowed to have people take images, but try and stop it. Try and stop it now.
Mm. And spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alerts too. Well, particularly if you have a big...
like the Panto, for instance.
Yeah, like the big reveal or the beanstalk going up or the giant's head. Or
Are
the
you dressed like
giant's hand.
Princess Leia?
Or me dressed like Princess Leia, yes.
One of my favourites.
Yes, yes, well. I can't blame you there. And... so yeah, it sometimes does crush it, but really there's a primeval, thank God, there's a primeval need for human beings to enjoy things together and respond together, and that's what brings people to theatre. It's not that they can't see the same stories on telly. It's not that they can't listen on radio or watch it any time, 24 hours. It's about the coming together and sharing that experience and sharing that applause. And I think that's why we'll survive, because so much of our world is so insular now. And I think, Mamma Mia, you don't need to... The number of times I've been on box office and they've come in and said, what you got on, like? What you got on? Mamma Mia. Well, I've already seen that. Pirate got it at the pub. And the number of times that we hear that. But that's been improved by technology. Because that whole 35mm Geet big bags of film, that 35mm film used to have to be stuck together. This was only a few years ago, stuck together, and every week you cut the end off to add the new advertisements. It's all been replaced now, but just like you have Netflix or Sky or whatever, we just have a big tube of broadband that brings the information down the line, and we're tapping a code, and there you go, jobs are good, and we watch it.
So you've alluded there to people watching Netflix or watching pirate copies. Are these challenges, like what challenges do the Customs House face?
In terms of that,
in terms of getting bums on seats and getting people to the venue?
I think it's a generational thing now. When there was no alternative, people went to what there was. But now you've got so many alternatives, haven't you, to what you do with your time. You don't necessarily want to come to the theatre. So quite often when we're on stage, you see a sea of white heads. And our challenge, I think, is to get the next generation to come along and engage with storytelling, which is done from the stage and not from a box in the corner or not from the phone. I mean, at home we have these two big televisions in different parts of the house, and yet my daughter insists on watching everything on a smartphone. Because it's hers. So I don't know, there is a challenge to us, but I do believe that there will always be a need for people to attend events.
Mm-hmm. So thinking about those events, is there anything that sticks out in your mind over the last 18 years that you've been here that really you're proud of, or a really great memory for you?
I think the opening night of Tom and Catherine was particularly moving for me because the whole of the audience stood up and cheered and roared approval of something that we'd taken from nothing and created. And that's not changed for me, really. I love to tell stories about our region, so about our area in particular. So when we've told the story of the Duke in the Cupboard about the guy who stole the portrait of Duke of Wellington and brought it back to the northeast and hid it in the cupboard because he ransomed it off to get free television licenses for the old people who'd fought in the war. You think I'm joking? That is a true story, and it happened in Benwell. And look at the first James Bond movie references it. Anyway, or the story about Kirkpatrick, the guy who was the man and the donkey, or the riots that we had outside here in the 1930s. I love telling those stories. And so when the board comes in that we've got this week, I hope it's going to be really significant because the themes in it are universal. And it is so special to have a world premiere, to buy the rights for the book and then bring it to the stage and see how people react to it. And I think it'll be really special when they see it. I've seen it in rehearsal and I'm really keen to see it. So whenever we bring anything that's new, I love. But special, really special to me, when I was little, I used to see things in little books, and some were colour and some weren't. Can you remember those days when everything wasn't colourful and books were books? And then I went to the Louvre and saw what a Delacroix was and a El Greco was, and I went, oh my God, they're amazing. I really got excited. The rest of my life, I've tried to make other people get that buzz from doing art. So last week I went to Edinburgh and I went to see a lad who was from Gorse Avenue. If anybody doesn't know Gorse Avenue, it's the Nook. If anybody doesn't know the Nook's like a quaint little fishing village at the north. It's where Jason Cook described the place you can get any gear you want, and he wasn't talking about clothes. Anyway, so it was quite a tough thing. And I worked with that lad who school hadn't served him well. This is many years ago. We got him to go to drama school and things by raising money and took him from the Nook. And last week I went to Edinburgh Festival, and there he was with his own production company. He'd written the play, he'd directed the play. It is getting great reviews, and he started at the Nook and Shields. And I'd like to think that part of where he's got to was his journey here, both Customs House and the college before that. But that's what really floats me boat now. Seeing people come through, whether it's Joe or Jade or Jamie out of Calabro, all of whom started singing on our stage, that's what floats me boat.
You know, there's a community feel to this, and you've got a community here, Ray, you've got a business community here. So what can we do? You're smiling there. What can we do as a business community to help the Customs House?
Do you know, I mean, the easiest answer is money. So I'm just going to say money. No, the truth is that if you want to do something that's a bit different, like we've got a Nigel Begg, right? Nigel Begg from Aspire Solutions. You might know Nigel. He's going to appear on our pantomime, right? He's going to appear on his pantomime because the staff want him to, right? They want to humiliate him. They want us to. So he'll appear for 5 minutes, and they'll all hoop and holler. You know what I mean? But it's a unique thing. It'll be fantastic for those staff, and we've done it with Northumbria Water in the past. So it's a different way for you to get involved. I mean, it's easy. We've got loads of ways for people to support us financially. But also, you know, this is a canny room, has a free car park, it's next to the river, it's got a nice park outside. Sometimes somebody once said when they had an event down here, it was the Community Foundation, and George, who was the then chair, got up and apologised to the Duke of Northumberland and the people who'd had to travel from the quayside down to South Shields. And then they asked me to speak, and I said, I just want to remind to the people from the quayside, Gateshead, Newcastle, that it's the same distance from Gateshead, Newcastle to where we are as it is from everywhere else in the northeast to where you are. And I think that sometimes we should spread the love a bit. That's why I was so keen that you came here tonight, so we could say, look, have you seen our space? You know, we've got another space over there, and we've got a 400-seater space over there. It would be good if people just considered us sometimes to hold events, not massive events. And it'd be good if you considered, you know, how we could, you can get involved with some of the work we do with the 25,000 young people that we work with. So that's what I'd like to see, just being considered.
You mentioned the space there. Have you got 71 spaces for us to star in pantomime as well as Nigel?
Well, we're on last year we did 74 performances, so
right, okay.
I would still have 3 spare.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's I'm going to see how it goes, but it might be a bit of a spinner. Nigel's doing it for the Chloe and Liam Together Forever Trust.
Yeah.
He bid for it, and the money's going to that. But there is room.
Excellent stuff, right? I'll get the dress out. So what does the future hold, Ray? You've mentioned a few things there, the Tom and Catherine thing, really close to your heart, good memories. What about going forward then? What would you like to do that you haven't done already?
Retire.
Okay.
It's a real quest of mine. Unfortunately, working in the arts, there's no final salary pension. I made the wrong choice. Anyway, but I have a great time here. I would really love to leave the Customs House in a situation where I say, you know what, it's all right now. I can, you could say I've failed for the last 18 years because we're no further forward. But I'd love to think it's secure because, you know, for those who live in South Tyneside, if you remove the Customs House, I think there'd be quite a hole in, you know, the primary music festival, or primary dance festival, or the community choir, or the ukulele groups.
Magic.
Or the Magic Festival, or all of the things that happen here, all of the laughs and giggles and sing-alongs that we do, where do you see that getting replaced? So it's important, I think, that something is here, and that would be what I'd like to achieve before I go. Just give us a little bit of a buffer, because we every year we get less and less publicly funded support. It's just the way of the world. So we have to generate more money, and we just need a little bit of a buffer because we're 150 years old, the building. So everything costs a lot when it goes wrong. But the institution is 25 years old next year, and we're going to have a big push trying to get... I'm looking for 250 people to give me £1,000, and not me personally, the organisation. But we are having
again, isn't it?
But we are having other schemes as well. But that's my holy grail is to raise $250,000, and then I can look to leaving.
Can I drill into that a little bit? How are you going to do that?
Well, I've thought of being a drugs mule.
Right.
I think there are some people who will be happy to do that.
Okay.
There'll be other opportunities for the kid who comes to the pantomime. Mm-hmm. But we call ourselves the Little Pantomime with the Big Heart. Every year we raise money for charity while we're doing the pantomime. this year we'll be launching our heart appeal when you'll give the house, put the heart back in the house, customs house. So people will be able to invest in that. A bit like Great North Museum, if anybody's been there, you know, you can buy a butterfly and put your name on it. Well, you'll be able to buy a heart, and we'll be putting those up on the wall.
Like a brick at the Stadium of Light?
Like a brick at the Stadium of Light, yes. Mm-hmm. Very much like a brick at the
Could I get a brick here if it's 250-year-old? Would you mind if I took a chisel and just put my name on the side of the wall?
If you gave me the 250,000, you could, yeah.
It's a deal. Right, so is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to get out before I humiliate you with a pantomime quiz?
I don't think so. I apologise for all of those who thought I was a technical leader, because I'm clearly not technology leader. But no, I'm just pleased that people are here and have stayed.
Likewise. Well, it's going out live, so if they get up, everyone will see.
Live in China.
Live in China, yeah. That's the camera there, yeah. Mm. Okay, Ray.
They're up early.
It's a big catch.
Yeah.
This is the bit.
Yeah, this is where you humiliate your guest.
It is indeed. Paul, have you got the horn?
And what? I don't want to ask that. It's very much a pantomime joke, that,
isn't
it?
It is indeed, yes. So, Paul will signal 60 seconds with his horn. He'll end 60 seconds with his horn. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask you some questions.
It's a long time for Paul and his horn, isn't it? 60
indeed.
Seconds. Okay, when you're ready.
His good lady, where's his good lady? Yes, yeah. She may agree with you. On you, Paul. Okay. In Jack and the Beanstalk, what is the name of Jack's mother?
Dame Trot.
Which pantomime features the character Maid Marian?
Robin Hood or Babes in the Wood.
Who took the babes into the wood?
The henchman.
What was the name of Aladdin's brother?
Wishy-washy.
What is the occupation of the 7 dwarfs?
Miners.
Which character marries Alice Fitzwarren?
Dick Whittington.
What is my favourite panto?
The Lambton Worm.
Nope. Does the fairy godmother come on stage right or left?
Do you mean stage right or stage left?
Or stage left.
She comes on stage right.
She does indeed. What is the name of the father of Cinderella and the Ugly Sisters?
Baron Stonybroke.
The last lines of a pantomime have 2 traditions associated with them. Name either.
1, they're always rhyming, and 2, you only ever do them at the dress rehearsal.
Well done. Wowzers. Yeah. You do indeed know about pantomimes.
Do you know, you're asking about future things. What I'd love to get to, because when I stop doing this, I don't want to stop doing pantomime. While I've still got legs, I would like to do pantomime. But if I get to 2024, that season, it would be 50 years since I did my first pantomime. So that's what I'm striving to.
Baron Hardup, what did you call it?
Baron Stonybroke.
Oh, there's a bit of discrepancy going on there. Like.
Well, it can be both, really.
Oh, I bet it would.
It can. It can. And the other thing is, I know your research is good, but never trust Wikipedia.
I've got a bonus question for you.
Oh, yes.
On December the 21st.
Shortest day.
1982.
Oh, God.
Melvin Hayes and Windsor Davies
took
to the stage at the Sunderland Empire for Babes in the Wood. 5 boys went on stage that night to help with the final song, Old MacDonald. I was one of those boys. What animal noise did I have to make?
Dog.
It was bloody dog. I actually made the noise of a pig and stopped the whole pantomime and had the wrath of Windsor Davies. How did you know that? Were you there?
Did I?
How do you know I was a dog?
Well, do you know, children are not very inventive, and it was either going to be pig, dog, sheep, cow or something else, horse. And I thought,
Dog. I look like a dog kind of guy.
Dog.
Thanks very much. Right, what we'll do then, we'll take some questions and answers from the floor. I think we've got time for about 3 questions.
Ray, with your long history on the stage and all this technology around, have you actually calculated how many times you've tread the boards?
I haven't actually, and it would probably be a lot less than I don't know. I've no idea. I've honestly no idea. But I would think it's thousands. It's got to be thousands of times just by longevity. If I do 70 every year, and I've been doing it for so many years, and I did 200 and odd Tommy parties, and I've done plays and stuff, it's got to be thousands.
So your thousands really trumps my 100 podcast, isn't it, really?
Not really, because you play to 100. You play to 100 countries, allegedly.
So Lee's going to make me repeat this question. So Nev, nice and succinct, my friend.
Oh, it's like a huge question.
Is it?
It's a 4-parter.
Okay.
I'm joking. I just wondered, with technology, you talked about your daughter with the smartphone in front of her and attention spans. Have you had to change any of the content to match that short attention span, that instant gratification that they all get? So are you changing content to match what people are doing, or are you just doing what you've always done?
Are you Hold on.
It's all right.
Are you changing content, Ray?
I've always been premature. That's why I've got 4 kids.
To adjust with shorter attention spans, are you changing content?
It is much more whizzy than it used to be. It's much more punchy. But the real challenge now when doing pantomime is cultural references. Cultural references, what you can say and how you can say has changed dramatically, but also what people watch. So when I started doing pantomime, you could mention Coronation Street or a character out of Coronation Street, and half the audience would know, and the other half you'd mention EastEnders, and they would know. Now, there is so many things people watch, it's really difficult to get a cultural reference that makes the majority of the audience laugh. And mostly, I reference commercials now, or politicians, or the royal family. But things, you've got to really choose something iconic, not a reference to, I don't know what's on TV now because I don't watch it, but Emmerdale, let's say.
Love Island.
You just Love Island. See, Love Island might work. They might work because a lot of people watch it. Only 2 million. 2 million is not a lot, though, is it?
It's definitely not for my podcast, Ray.
No, it's not. Well, if China's watching it.
Any other questions for Ray? Yes.
When you were Tommy the Trumpeter in a past life, you made a tape, and I drove all the way to Spain and listened to it over and over again because that's the only thing that kept the kids quiet. Unfortunately, I've now lost that tape. With technology, can I download it?
I think I've still
Can we download the Tommy the Trumpeter tape?
I think I've probably still got 500 copies of it left.
In the back of your car?
Yeah, it was one of those things. I think it might be on YouTube. I think it might be. I haven't put it on, but it might be. But there's still some CDs around of DVDs of the show. Yeah, there used to be. I tell you a funny. I've got time to tell a story.
You've got time. It better be funny though.
Well, it's not very funny. People have different opinions of that tape. I've heard children say, "We've lost the tape," and the dad go, "Right, they've lost the tape." But when Tommy the Trumpeter was got quite a following, and I used to do a Saturday morning club in the middle of the winter, and we used to get queues, like 400 people came to the Saturday morning club, and I came down one day. I was walking down the bank, and there was a father. There was a big queue waiting to get in. This is true. And the father was walking up the bank. You know, one of the Saturday dads that's when you've got the kids. And he was walking up the bank, and I saw him say, "It's true." Saw him say to his son, "He's died, son. I can't do anything about it." It's true. Dead. Just dead. which was upsetting for the band, but not as upsetting as when he saw me the next summer and thought I was haunting him.
Is there any more questions for you? We can squeeze a couple more and go on. Yes.
My youngest daughter's going off to London shortly to study applied theatre and performance. Have you got any wisdom for her?
Yeah, stay as an accountant, because you'll get more money. About wisdom about going to theatre school. My daughter, who's now 24, she is an actress and a singer, and she had the dream of being a star. In fact, she's been in the movies, she's been on TV, played on Radio 1, all of those things. But the thing that made her most money this year was being Luigi from the Mario Brothers around McDonald's restaurants for 31 consecutive days around the country, cooking inside this costume. So I think the reality is that every year, somebody told me a figure the other day, we produce 10,000 professional dancers every year in this country. 10,000 professional dancers, qualified dancers. There are approximately 3,000 jobs for dancers every year. But every year we're producing another 10,000. And it's very much in the acting game as well. There's a lot more, theme parks and commercials and the proliferation of channels. There's a lot more work out there, but the money's less. I'll tell you, have I got time?
Go for your life.
I'm going to drop two names here, but it's not because of drop the names, it's to give you an example of how bad the business is now. Tim Healy did his video here, DVD to sell, and he was here with Denise. They were still together then. And I was talking about the business in general, and Tim said it's completely messed up. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, 30 years ago, when I was in Alvida St. Pet, as an unknown on ITV, completely unknown, now, 30 years ahead, I'm a name. I'm appearing in Coronation Street because he was at the time. He said, I'm on the same money. Not, proportionally more because of inflation. Exactly the same money as a name. And Denise was saying, and worse than that now, back in those days, you only needed to do one programme. If you watch television now, how many times you see the same actors in a whole load of shows? They only used to have to do one programme because they made so much money. 6 weeks doing Dad's Army, jobs are good. But not now. So Denise was saying you turn up now to be the driver, the taxi driver, and there's 4 household names all trying to get the same job because the business is so bad. They need the money, they need to work. I think that's, it's not telling you that it's going to be brilliant, but it's a tough business.
If it's what's in your heart, it's what you want to do.
I would agree with that. My daughter, when she was played on Radio 1, I thought she was going to be me pension, but nope, didn't happen.
Good stuff. Let's do a raffle.
Oh, good.
Can I just say something?
Go on then, last question.
Yes, it's not a question, quite a question. How about doing some Bollywood in your pantomime?
We've got Afnan Prince this year in our pantomime. Afnan's been in 2, 3, 4 times, I think. I think there's no reason we shouldn't do a bit of Bollywood. Well, you see, it'd be lovely for you to pop on and do it, but would you pop on and do it 74 times? and would you pop on and do it at 10 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then do it all again at 6:30? And, through the cold and the illnesses and stuff, that's the real challenge. It's everybody comes and says, isn't it great? Yeah, get up with flu and no, you have to do 3 shows that day. Can I tell another quick story? Honestly, this is a funny story to finish with, though, about the difference of working. We had an opera singer join us in pantomime when we did Alice in Wonderland, playing the Queen of Hearts. And I had no idea how opera singers work. Does anybody know how opera singers work? Well, basically, opera singers don't sing the day after they sing. Fantastic job, isn't it? You have to have a day off the day you work, right? And I rang this opera singer, so I don't tell you who it is, but I rang the agent and said, how much is it to have her. And they said £2,000. And I said, I don't pay anybody £2,000 a week. She said, no, per performance. And she's off every day. I said, nah, I'm not doing that. Anyway, she did it anyway for a much cheaper rate. But she'd never sang at 10 o'clock in the morning. And she'd never, ever done 3 shows in a day. That was just crazy. But she wanted to do it because she was from the town and she was coming towards retirement. So somebody said to her, what you'll need to do is just to keep the vocal cords warm all the time. And what we suggest is that you try a little bit of port, just a little bit of port. So on the first 3 show day, she was fine until the last performance when she came bouncing down the corridor, absolutely bladdered, to go on to do the final scene because she'd been taking a little bit of port all day. Anyway, there you go.
Thank you very much for that, Ray. It's good stuff. Paul, have you left your horn now? Excellent, thank you very much. And now we are going to pick somebody out of the hat. So everybody who's registered tonight and hasn't just rocked up should be in this bucket. Well swirled.
Do you want to read that? Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, you read that one.
And the winner is Andrew Purvis.
Haha. Now, Andrew Purvis is in Spain. If you're watching...
But if you believe his publicity, he's right behind that camera now.
Pick again.
Pick again.
Sorry, Andrew. Yeah.
Going well.
You've got to be in the room.
Got to be in the room to win it. Okay. This is... Oh, well, there you go. It is Duncan Yellowlees. Duncan?
Duncan isn't Edinburgh. Sorry, Duncan. He isn't.
Ray Spencer. Well, I know he's here. Sean Goldfinch. Hey! I have an envelope with the prize. Did I give it to you?
You did
I
not.
must have left it on my desk, but I'll give it to you before.
What's inside it, Ray?
It's a family ticket to Beauty and the Beast for the 1st of December. And it couldn't go to a nicer organisation because Goldfinch helped us enormously. And we were talking about money before, sorry, but they do. It's a different Goldfinch. Goldfinch estate agents help us enormously. What they do is everybody who moves into the town gets a welcome pack. But in the welcome pack is come and use the customs house. Dead simple, costs them out, but they're helping us. So you might all have similar ideas, like take your brochure and spread it around.
We've got loads of editing now to do.
Has the hour arrived yet?
Yeah, we're doing. Look, that's bang on.
So, if anybody's got any more questions.
What's happening?
Pete says about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. I want to relax, man. I've done an hour. You paid us for the hour. That's it. The hour's up. It's done.
He gets paid?
Does anybody have a burning question for Ray? No? Great. Right. So listen, before we do that, we've got to thank Ray. That was amazing. Some real good stories here, so thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Team Angels, who we've got Lee there at the back, who always plays a blinder. I always stress him right out to the last minute. So thank you very much, Lee. Our photographer, Gavin G. Force Foster at the back there. And of course, Paul and his horn. That's it, it's over. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can say we all sound crazy. You can say we've lost our mind. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. Ba 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 ba. And every night I lie in bed. Quiet in the lounge.
Lee, I don't know if I pressed record on that too. Can you just check if I pressed record on there? I'm a diva, you know this.
Apparently he's done it 100 times, but he doesn't
Ray.
let it show.
Because I get involved. People should be setting all this up for me. I should just arrive.
You should. Well, I just want to say that I was so excited to carry the bags and equipment in for you today.
It's a good point.